Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1691A, and today's date is October 16th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Trump Confirms Plan, It's All Working. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, it looks like the plan is going absolutely perfectly. What I'm talking about the idea that the economy is doing well. This is part of the plan. Why? Because Trump needs to convince the country, the world, that the economy is doing fantastically, that the United States is completely out of the recession, recovery, and everything else. And he has to have the numbers look fantastic. Now, we've been following the economy. We know that these numbers are manipulated. We know they've manipulated them to a point where really nothing makes sense anymore. And what he's done, he's taking them on purpose, using what they have been doing, all the tools they've been using, and made the economy look like it's the best economy in the world. Why does he need to do this? Because when you bring down the deep state and the central banking system, you need to make sure that what you've been doing cannot be hit upon. And what I mean by this is they're going to try to maneuver and switch it around to make it look like Trump's policies, by getting rid of the globalist trade deals, by renegotiating NAFTA, by implementing these tax relief deals, by putting in place the tariffs. They're going to try to use this to say that the global economy is falling apart because of Trump. And what he's been doing here is been manipulating the data, just like Obama has, just like the central bank has, and using their tools against them. Because we know that they're not going to come out and say, hey, all this data is manipulated. Because if they do that, all he needs to do is go back in time saying, well, these are the same tools that we've been using the whole entire time. Are you telling me that all this data has been manipulated during Obama, during Bush, during Clinton, and all the way back in time? So they're not going to do this right now. Now, there's a reason why he needs this to be the way it is. He needs everyone to believe that the economy is doing well. Because when the system implodes, he needs to make sure that everyone realizes that he improved the economy, made America great again, and the Federal Reserve, well, they collapsed it. This has to be done to get out of the central bank system. This is a central bank system that is not supported by we the people. This is a central bank system supported by the deep state, by criminal elements. And they've been controlling the U.S. since 1913. And in 1971, it got a lot worse. So when we start to look at all this data here, like job openings, and we've been looking at this data for a very long time, you can see that the numbers really don't make sense. Now, the BLS comes out with all their numbers all the time, and we've been through these numbers many, many times, and now they're saying that the August number for job openings in the U.S. hit a new all-time high of 7.1 million. Up from July's prior upward revised record of 7.0 million. So let's think about this for a second here. They're telling us that we have 1.2 million more job openings than unemployed Americans who are seeking a job. Now, you would think, since there's so many job openings, that these employers would be so desperate that they would increase the amount of pay to get those people in to take these jobs. It's supply and demand. I remember back in the 90s going into the 2000s when there were a lot of job openings for tech people. And you couldn't find a tech person to fill these positions. And some of the companies had, 5, 10 job openings. You know what they did then? They increased the salaries to get people in. And they would pay pretty much whatever you wanted. Now, if we have 1.2 million more job openings than unemployed Americans, we would see pay moving up. But we don't see that. We don't see that at all. Supply and demand not working here. And what we're seeing is that these statistical numbers, they don't make sense. Actually, if you really look at it and you factor in inflation and everything else, workers right now are only making 0.5% more than a year ago. So does that sound right? No. Because when you manipulate the data the way they've been doing for a very long time, this information makes no sense. And it's not just with jobs. It's with the housing industry. Remember, the central bank has a way of manipulating data, making everything look fantastic. But behind the scenes, things are breaking down rapidly. Trump knows this. He knows behind the scenes, we don't have the manufacturing. We had to get rid of the globalist deals. We had to put in an even playing field between trade between all different countries, because he knows the central banking system's coming to an end. And we are going to go through a transition. It's going to be a very difficult time for some people. And are they trying to make it painless for a lot of people? Yes, they are. But we're going to be going through this transition. Whenever you leave a system and you move into a new system, it is always painful. I mean, we saw pain when we moved out of the gold standard, where the currency was partially backed by gold, and we moved on to the petrodollar system. People saw pain. In the 70s, people couldn't find jobs. We couldn't get fuel. I mean, yes, they had to raise the interest rates because they were creating currency like crazy, because we were no longer hooked to gold. And the value of the dollar was losing value very, very quickly. And people thought this was a good thing. This was the beginning stages of moving on to a fiat currency system. In the beginning stages, people were like, wow, look at this. I'm getting 18%, 17% on my money. All of a sudden, we're seeing inflation. Home prices jumped. Yes, because the dollar's losing value. It's a trick. But during this period of time, people don't realize it's a trick. People start to realize things much, much later on. And the population, as it continues on and credit gets easier and things go on, we go into more debt. The end stage, those are the people that pay. That's where we are right now. We're at the end stage where people are starting to realize there's a problem with this system. And we can see it through the housing market. We know that there are bubbles all over the place. And we know that Wells Fargo, their mortgage department, is declining. And we see Bank of America, their home equity loans have been dwindling. This is a sign that people cannot go out and purchase homes. They're not going to take out equity lines of credit. It's starting to slow. We see industrial production. It is the weakest since May. It has gone absolutely nowhere. I mean, Peter Schiff is out there once again warning everyone that we're in for a painful depression, recession, and it's going to be pretty darn bad. And he did predict it way back in 2004 for the 2008 crash, where he said we're going to have a housing crisis, we're going to have a credit crisis, and he was absolutely right. And he's predicting it once again. We all have been watching the entire system implode on itself. When you really look at it, you can actually see what's happening. I mean, think back prior to 2008 when those individuals were looking at the subprime securities. And I'm not saying they look at the package. They went inside and they said, well, wait a minute. This person's defaulting on the loan. This person's defaulting on the loan. How are these rated AAA? Now, they saw it. Now, people called them crazy. They're conspiracy theorists. They're crazy. This is not what it is. We already know that S&P and the rest, they rated them AAA. So you're crazy. But they knew that this couldn't last long. I mean, it lasted a lot longer than they thought it was going to last. But eventually, what happened? The whole thing came tumbling down. The same thing is happening right now. We've been looking deep, deep, deep into this entire system. What do we see happening here? We see the entire system breaking apart and crashing. That is what is happening. So Trump was out there today, and he was talking about the economy, and he kind of confirmed everything that we've been saying. And you have to read between the lines a little bit. He went, incredible number just out. 7 million job openings. Astonishing. It's all working. Really, what's all working? Depends on how you look at this. Now remember, he has Andrew Jackson hanging on his wall in his office. Andrew Jackson campaigned on getting rid of the central bank. Why would he hang Andrew Jackson in his office? Except to get rid of the central bank. Why has he been contradicting the central bank? Why has he continually been saying, wow, I thought Powell was an easy money Fed. Why is he an interest rate Fed? I guess I picked the wrong guy. Well, I can't fire him. I'm not going to fire him. I'll just keep letting him do what he's doing. And he went on to say, stock market, up big on tremendous potential of USA. Also strong profits. We are number one in the world by far. Yes, this is where we are going to be. But what he's doing right now is he's trying to put it out there. Now remember, the mainstream media hates reporting pretty much anything that he says. So he tweets a lot, and he wants these tweets to get into the mainstream media mix, to put the word out that the economy is doing great. Now, yes, the mainstream media, they're probably going to try to say, no, it's not doing well. And if you notice, it's the same exact economy that came out of Obama. The only difference is they're getting rid of all the globalist trade deals. They're getting rid of all the central bank deals and everything else. And they're trying to bring manufacturing back. And they manipulated the numbers even more so. But really, what has changed in the economy at this point? Nothing really. I mean, we have the same exact manipulation that we had before. So now the mainstream media is out there trying to contradict what Trump is saying. And they don't like that he's going after the central bank. They don't like that at all because they're in line with the central bank. So here we are. He's pushing the narrative that the economy is doing well, letting everyone know it's doing well. In the meantime, the whole thing's falling apart. He's setting up the Federal Reserve. He's setting them up to take the fall. This is part of the plan. You need to crash the central bank system. You just can't do away with it. And people say, well, why don't we just get rid of it? Why don't we just pay them off and say, we don't need them right now? The reason why is because if you just do this and you just end them, people don't remember what they did. You need to show people that the central bank crashed the system, and this crash of this system ruined the entire housing market, the retail market, the stock market, and the economy. Why do you need people to feel it? You need people to feel it so as we move forward, each generation says, we don't want another central bank. That's why it's being done. Yes, over time, what's going to happen is people are going to forget. And the central bank, once again, will try to wiggle their way into the system. This will happen no matter what we do. This is why our founding fathers said, one day you'll have to fight for your freedom again. There's a reason why they keep saying this. There's a reason why they say never forget. Because what happens over time, people forget after generation. And once people start to forget, that's when the central bank starts to make their move. I mean, with Andrew Jackson, he kept the central bank away for a long time, but they wiggled their way back in. But to make this successful, you need people to understand this because, again, Trump's not going to be president forever. There will be others who will become corrupt, hopefully not in the beginning. And they'll try to bring in the central bank again. And this is where the people have to say, no, we're not doing this. And that's why there has to be a crash of the system. That's why you need to point the finger at the central bank. You need to make people aware of what is being done because most of the people are sleeping. They have no clue what is going on. They don't even know what the Federal Reserve is. But once they do, they will never forget. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.